This week's show brought to you by Roosters, a fun casual joint. Frank Shoup, Georgetown's big name in cars.
Welcome everybody to the first edition this season of the Scott County Cardinals News Graphic Coaches Show. This is the girls basketball edition. The coach will join us later, Coach Steve Helton, as well as some players, but we want to talk a little bit about the season that's beginning. I hope you're as excited to see this team in action as I am. They had a great comeback season last year, won 20 games, got to the 11th region semifinals before losing to Lafayette, and an abundance of that team is back. 3 of the 5 starters. Plus, in addition to having 3 potential Division I caliber players on their floor, they pick up Juliet Smith, and they pick up a transfer in Zephaniah Gray. So you've already got Peyton Riddle, Malia Owens, and Morgan DeFore back out there on the floor. So you're looking at potentially at any time a lineup of 5 guards. Coach Helton is going to talk about that later. And it's just an exciting athletic style of play that you're going to see from the Cards this year. If you thought last year's pace was pretty quick, sometimes they would score 80, 90 points a game, just wait until you see them this year. I had a chance to check out a scrimmage a couple weeks ago. They played a team from Cincinnati, and it was over quickly. They can shoot the 3, they can drive to the basket, they can pressure you on defense. This group is going to be really good. I've seen some preseason polls that have the Cards ranked in the top 10, but they're kind of on the lower fringe of the top 10. I think they're a little bit underrated. I may be biased, but right now, certainly viewed as one of the top contenders in the 11th region, and definitely the favorite in the 42nd district. We mentioned Peyton Riddle. She's headed to Eckerd University in Florida. It's a Division II school. It should be a great fit for her. She could have gone D1, certainly, but her level of talent, she averaged 20 points per game last year. She's probably going to be counted on to rebound quite a bit, being one of the taller players at 5'10". But speaking of height, we should mention Malaya Williams. Her game has just evolved this year. She's 6'1", 6'2", a big target in the middle, but she's also a weapon on the front of that press that Scott County loves to challenge opponents with. Her arms will be tough for opponents to throw the ball over, and you'll see a lot of easy baskets, I think, as a result. It's going to be an interesting first week. They host games back-to-back, do the Lady Cards, on Thursday and Friday night. They'll be playing Cooper in the first game and then Fleming County, and those are both going to be challenging games. They lost at Cooper a year ago. And Fleming County appears to be a physical opponent, an opponent that's been at the state tournament and regional tournament level quite a bit in their part of the state. And that's going to be a good early test. And then they will get right into the district schedule the following week. As far as Christmas, last year the Lady Cards went to Texas. No such trip this year. They'll take a trip north to Lakota West in Ohio for a Thursday-Friday tournament after Christmas. Should be a good test against a couple of the best teams in that area. The rest of the schedule, the Toyota Classic looks good. Simon Kenton will be one of the top teams in the state. They will be back this year, so that will be the marquee game on Saturday night. There's also a big game at Franklin County. That's probably usually the top 2 teams in the 11th region. It was last year. Franklin County may be down a little bit of a notch this season, so maybe a chance for Scott County to pick up a win there and establish themselves as the favorite, but that's still to come in the month of January. We mentioned Malia Owens. She's had some Division I offers. She's going to be a player to watch. And Morgan DeFore has already made a couple of visits to D1 schools, D1 campuses. She's someone whose game is going to evolve as she moves away from the point guard position this year with Juliet Smith coming back. You'll see her get to freelance on offense quite a bit more. It's just going to be an exciting team to watch with a lot of weapons. Hope you can make it out to some of these home games, if not this week, in the near future. We talked with Coach Helton about his excitement. I know he's even more excited than I am about this team. He calls it one of the most athletic teams he's ever had. Probably the most so since about 2005, 2006. And let's not forget, he had a team go to the state finals more recently than that. So when he's talking in terms of this is the best team he's had athletically in 10 or 12 years, you know they're good. Let's see what Coach Helton had to say about this year's Lady Cards.
The Lady Cards are hungry for a game against an opponent other than themselves on the practice court.
Yeah, well, today's practice 31, and I know the kids are ready to play. If I had my wishes, I think we need another 31 practices before we play. But I know they're ready to get going, and let's see where we're at. You know, it's going to be a good start to the season. 2 home games back to back after what'll be 33 practices by then. So we'll see where we're at, and we've got to figure out our baseline so we can look at our improvement. And there's lots of things that I see that we need improvement on, but sometimes we need to play those games to see if everyone else agrees.
Coach Helton's challenge is to figure out which 5 players to use at any given time.
It's going to be an in-game experiment for a lot of what we're doing. We're getting some really good scrimmages in, but figuring out where everybody's going to go, how everybody's going to fit. Possibly looking at a 5-guard lineup, possibly looking at 5 point guards at one time. So it's definitely different from a coaching standpoint. I've had to really go back and do some research and watch some of our old game films from 10 years ago, and then try to combine it with, what's, kind of going on in today's world with, Carolina and Michigan State, and some of the teams that we try to pattern our games after. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how we put it together and when we put it together.
Helton describes the team as Scott County's most talented in more than a decade.
We've been, that 05-06 season, we had 2 Gatorade Players of the Year back-to-back with Chelsea and Rebecca. We had a talented top players with them. We had, from KK to Susie. And you start talking about teams, and you hate to compare teams because every team's different. But from a talent standpoint, 05-06, we went 10, 11, 12 deep. Now here we are, 2017-18, we're 10, 11, 12 deep. And so it's definitely, it's a good problem to have, but at the same time, you've got to figure out how to get those 10, 11, 12 people to mesh. And it's going to, it could be different from game to game, from foul to foul, from whatever type of game, we're playing. So it's definitely going to be something that we're working toward, and we're going to be a working process.
Scott County's players all have similar skill sets, which can lead to some evolving roles.
And they're all point guards. That's that the group that we're putting out there. We're looking at, we're putting, Morgan at a different position because she's used to having the ball and making it happen. Well, now we're looking at maybe having her inbound or even having her rim run, which is totally different. And then, our end goal is to who's closest to it, getting it out and going. And, it's just going to take time. Our practices are really competitive. So I go home frustrated a lot. But it's not because one team's dominating the other team. It's each day somebody else is doing something. And they're like, well, they hadn't been doing that before. And so our practices are extremely competitive this year, which will only make us better. Right now, it's only making me more frustrated, but it will make us better.
Thursday and Friday's home games against Cooper and Fleming County provide immediate tests.
Lexi Hale comes in. She's Miss Basketball candidate for Cooper. They're saying right now, she's playing as well as anybody in the state, over the summer and into this season. Cooper, last year going the way up, our bus broke down. We got there, JV didn't get to play because we were so late, and you could just tell that it wasn't going to be a positive night for us. So we had injuries that night that had just happened prior to the Madison Central game, and everything that could go wrong that night went wrong. So they're very well coached. They returned 2 of their top 8, which doesn't sound like a lot, but they're 2 of their main scorers. Lexi and the other Mitchell kid. So they're going to come in here. Last year they threw everything they had at us. From offensively to defensively. I think they're going to do the same thing here. They're well coached, and then we're going to turn around on Friday night and play probably the most physical team we'll see all year with Fleming County. It'll be, WWE's coming to Lexington on SmackDown Tuesday, and WWE Part 2 could be here on Friday night because they are physical, and they'll tell you they're going to be physical. And so it'll be one of those games where we need to control the tempo because we sure don't want to get in a tag team or a 6-man battle roll with Fleming County, because physically they will flat out they'll throw down with you.
42nd district games begin next week, and December sees frequent home dates for the Lady Cards.
We jump right into district play, and that's going to be huge. It seems like December we're home. Got a couple of away games. We go Bull County, Muhlenberg. January we're on the road a lot, except for Toyota Classic, and then February we'd come back home. So what we need to do is make sure we don't have no snow during January, because that could really mess our road schedule up. But new opponents, new district opponent Douglas this year, and there's lots of question marks, but there's lots of excitement there. And our kids they're ready. I think they're ready to play somebody else. I think they're tired of hearing me talk about each other. I think they're ready to play somebody else. And again, this is going to be a season where we're going to be doing a lot of things on the fly. And we got some newcomers. Zephaniah, she's a senior, but it's like she's been here for the past 6 years. She fits right in. Juliet, Michaela, having them back out there on the court with us. So, it's just going to be a situation where we have a chance to be really good. But again, it's a long season. There's a lot of things got to go together, and we'll see where we're at.
All right, that's Coach Helton, and his biggest challenge is probably figuring out which 5 to play at what time, as he's got 10 or 12 players he can rotate out there on a nightly basis and get things done. We mentioned Peyton Riddle. She's one of the state's top talents. She can do a lot of things. She can hit the three. She makes things happen offensively, turns defense into offense, and Morgan DeFore was kind of pressed into action last year as a freshman as the point guard with Juliet Smith sidelined with a knee injury, but I think her game's only going to evolve this year as we see her become more of an offensive threat. Let's see what Peyton and Morgan had to say about the coming season.
Peyton Riddle enters the season as one of Kentucky's top senior players.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to, start senior year and, just kind of, we've had 30-some practices, just, have a game, our first game, just have the game day routines and kind of get back into that. It'll be fun to start playing.
Scott County can substitute 5 players at a time without seeing a significant drop-off.
I think we're all evolving every year and, just kind of, we are very guard-oriented, so we're kind of, looking at rotations and seeing how we, fit the best, is it 4 guards, 3 guards, kind of getting those rotations down and, whoever steps up and, plays that position, and can accept the role is kind of what we're looking at.
It's still a fast pace, but now we have more point guards and the addition of Zephaniah, we're faster now, I think.
The Lady Cards hope to make a run at the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2010.
We have the team, we have the talent to do it. We just have to put it all together.
Yeah, I think, our district and region has always been a tough one. We got to just come out and play, hard every game, especially this year, just having higher expectations. People come out looking for that, like to win, and, so we just got to do the same thing and match the intensity and, always play hard.